The subject of the 21st lemma is sincerity. So, what does sincerity mean? It is a religious term that signifies being genuine, connecting to religion with sincerity, and practicing the principles of religion solely for the sake of pleasing Allah. It is the opposite of hypocrisy. In the face of the evils in the world, human beings are very limited and powerless. On top of this weakness, human beings are burdened with the responsibility of believing in Allah. In this difficulty, we are in great need of sincerity to fulfill our responsibilities, and we are obliged to do so. In matters of the afterlife in this world, sincerity is the most important principle. In the verse, "Do not exchange my ayahs for a small price in the worldly life," there is a strong warning. Engaging in sinful and futile matters that contradict the happiness of the hereafter is both unjust to oneself and disrespectful to those who are involved in Quranic affairs. Good deeds often face harmful obstacles, and Satan tempts those who engage in good deeds more. To be free from this, we should embrace sincerity and flee from sins like one would flee from a snake. Indeed, the soul is a persistent enjoiner of evil, except those upon which my Lord has mercy. Indeed, my Lord is forgiving and merciful. Yusuf 12:53. What does Bediüzzaman suggest for us to live a sincere religious life? First principle. In our acts of goodness and worship, it should be for the sake of pleasing Allah. It is not important if people react or distance themselves from you due to the good things you do. What matters is that Allah accepts what you have done. In our acts of worship and goodness, the sole focus should be on seeking the pleasure of Allah. If Allah wills, He can convince the entire populace. All people will accept and appreciate the good deeds you have done. Second principle. We should not criticize our friends. We should not boast about our superiority or provoke their sense of envy. One hand of a person does not gain superiority over the other, nor does one eye criticize the other, but rather they compensate for each other's deficiencies. The soul strives to repair the shortcomings in the heart. Just as the gears of a factory ensure each other's progress, we should provide benefits to our friends like those gears, helping them advance. We should not criticize, but cover and conceal their weaknesses. The value of 3 ones is 3. The value of 4 times 4 is at most 16. However, when they come together on the same line for the same purpose, their value becomes 4,444. If there is genuine camaraderie among friends, everyone sees through each other's eyes, hears through each other's ears, and thinks with each other's minds. Third principle. You should recognize that all your strength lies in sincerity and righteousness. Strength always aligns with righteousness. In fact, even unjust individuals can benefit from righteousness because they perform their tasks correctly. Always prefer your friends over yourself in compliments, positions, and similar matters so that spiritual beings can guide you. To earn rewards, you may say, "Let me do this ahead of my friends." And there is no sin in that, but it casts a shadow over the sincerity among you. Fourth principle. Take pride in the virtues and accomplishments of your friends just as you do in your own. In other words, it is important to forget oneself and focus on the beautiful qualities and accomplishments of your friends. Our path is brotherhood, not a path between father and son or sheikh and disciple, but rather standing side by side as brothers. This virtue can only be established through sincerity. Those who break this sincerity can fall from a high place into a pit. There are 2 paths. One is to deviate from this path and fall into sin, and the other is to continue on this path and avoid falling into the pit. The most beautiful way to acquire sincerity and preserve it is to contemplate death. Remembering death reminds us that this world is temporary. Every soul will taste death. Al-Imran 3:185. Indeed, you will die, and indeed, they will die. Az-Zumar 39:30. And also a hadith which says, "Remember frequently the destroyer of pleasures, which is death." By considering Allah's constant presence through the strength of faith, finding peace in observing His art, and not seeking anyone's approval except His, one can cultivate sincerity. Each person benefits from it according to their own level. There are 3 factors that undermine sincerity. Number 1, competition driven by material interests. This competition also leads to missing out on spiritual benefits. People always help and support those who work for religion and faith, providing them with both material and spiritual assistance. However, explicitly requesting and even harboring expectations, whether through words or in the heart, detracts from sincerity. Do not exchange my ayahs for a small price in the worldly life. Al-Baqarah 2:41. These material expectations also lead to competition among brothers. For example, people have adopted the practice of collaborating for wealth and power. They have achieved success through this collaboration in politics, trade, and various other fields. If this partnership and joint action were done to fulfill religious commands, similar success could be achieved. For instance, if one person brings the lamp, another brings the wick, another brings the matchstick, and another brings the bottle to illuminate a room, their collaboration would bring about brightness. Similarly, when individuals come together for virtuous deeds, each contributing their own expertise, everyone benefits from the collective result. Another example is if one person tries to make a needle of their own. They can only produce 3 needles per day. However, if 10 people join forces, each performing a different task such as lighting the fire, forging the iron, or making the hole, they can produce a much larger quantity of needles in a shorter time. Thus, they achieve more productivity. While the benefits of collaboration in worldly matters are well known, one can only imagine how much greater the benefits would be for the hereafter. This tremendous gain should not be lost due to lack of sincerity and competition. Second, the love for status and fame are 2 detrimental traits that undermine sincerity. Seeking to gain people's love, seeking attention, and highlighting one's own ego are signs of a spiritual illness. These attitudes lead to hidden shirk, associating partners with Allah, and self-conceit, both of which erode sincerity. Since our path is based on truthfulness and brotherhood, introducing competition among us goes against our principles. Friends should support and complement each other. Number 3, fear, greed, and avarice. These have been mentioned in the Hujumat Sitta, the 6 adversaries. O Allah, for the sake of the Surah Al-Ikhlas, sincerity, make us among those who possess sincerity and are guided by it. We exalt you from any imperfection. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, you are the all-knowing, all-wise. Al-Baqarah 2:32. O Allah, I seek from you such a mercy that brings guidance to my heart, order to my affairs, organization to my scattered state, perfect faith within me, righteous deeds in my outward actions, purity and sincerity in my deeds, and inspire me with the right path that is pleasing to you. Grant me a worthy companion with whom I may find solace, and protect me from all kinds of evil. In our actions, prayers, and desires, grant us the ability to seek only your satisfaction. Ameen. Ameen.